Welcome to another edition of Sports Clinic Podcast. Not a very good day today. In historic fashion, Afghanistan wins its first ever ODI against Pakistan by 8 wickets. So let's start before the match, whereby the PCB issued a what I thought was a needless statement about team unity. And then in the match, you saw at various points there was some awkward body language. There was one team huddle where even the commentators pointed out that it was not Babar was sort of leading the team huddle. It was Imam ul Haq. Babar looked a little disinterested. Um, one was today's loss basically um, could the, was should the PCB have released a statement? Two, is there any merit to it? Three, could today's loss be put on a lack of team unity, etc.? We'll start with you, Elias.
So I think it's hard to gauge so soon, like what was the cause, especially like right after the game when it was such a collective failure. Like you could say that, okay, like we set a decent score, but all the bowlers, I would say, bowled poorly most of the phases, apart from like one or two Hassan spells or maybe one Shaheen spell, and the fielding was really, really off. So I guess you could chalk, like if you have such a collective failure, I think you can chalk it up to something external that is off the field. Like you could tell at the end that the team isn't really communicating with each other. There's like a bunch of lapses in fielding, and you have some weird like indecision. Do we bowl the spinners here? Do we bowl the fast bowlers here? And other than that as well, I think the biggest evidence is Babar's post-match interview, where he said that I am not, like, yeah, he used the fielding as an example, but he said that he is not getting the required attitude that he wants from his team. And I don't want to be like a conspiracy theorist or read too much into things, but I think it's quite clear that the captain isn't happy with what the men are giving him, and maybe the men themselves are not happy with what the captain is giving them. Maybe that's the reason for it. We don't know. But I think that is enough evidence for me to say that there is something about the team culture that isn't working right now,
It's
because
the
you
first
have the
crack that you
performance, you have the
saw.
players. Exactly in this game. I think if you look at the past few games, you had the India game, you could chalk it up to like a big crowd, or they bowled really well, best side of the tournament. Australia game, we fought really well at the end, we batted well, so we ended that. It was disappointing, but it wasn't like a huge low, because I felt like we did step up, we gave them a good fight. But this was like a completely shambolic performance all round. So, and combine that with what the captain said very clearly in his own words, I think that there is something is wrong. I don't know what it is exactly, but it is something that has nothing to do with core skills. I think it's deeper than that.
No, it's the first chink in the armor for a team that's been criticized as Dosti United. Uh, Izzy, your thoughts initially on the statement? Is there any truth to it, and was that reflected in the field? And then, especially with the context of the Baber's post game um, comments.
सादी भाई, you're very familiar with the term that NFL में बहुत यूज होती है या अमेरिकन स्पोर्ट्स में बहुत यूज होती है, कोच स्पीक. तो दिस इज बेसिकली, अब इट्स ऑफ कोर्स द कैप्टन सेइंग इट, बट वही है, वही घिसी पिटी स्टेटमेंट्स वही जो होती हैं, जो टोकन स्टेटमेंट्स और वो जो उन्होंने रट के आया हुआ होता है. आई थिंक वी डोंट नीड टू लुक एनीथिंग फर्दर इनटू दैट. जो उसने अपने ट्रू इमोशंस उसने एक्सप्रेस करने होंगे, आई एम श्योर बिहाइंड क्लोज डोर्स उसने और मिकी ऑर्टन ने तो डेफिनेटली एक्सप्रेस किए होंगे. एज फॉर द रीजन वी लॉस्ट टुडे, यार, if you think about it, जो 99 overs of cricket हुई है, you only played well in the first 7 overs of your batting, and the next in the final 6 overs of your batting wo jo Shadab और इफ्तिखार ने hit लगाई थी. Other than that, did you truly deserve to win this game? They outclassed you in the field, in the bowling, with their catching, with their batting. So ठीक है, we can zoom out and blame the exterior things, but basically when it comes down to it, you played 15 overs of good cricket and they played 84 overs of good cricket, and they deserved to win. Plus they had the added advantage of already having played a match in this venue against New Zealand. So they knew कि उन्होंने second innings में उनका collapse हो गया था to Mitchell Santner, but they recovered, they regrouped, and full credit to the Afghan bowling, the way they tied us with their spinners. They overloaded the spinners and did a very good job. Noor Ahmed Yar, he's a teenager on his World Cup debut, getting 3 for 49 और हमें हिलने नहीं दे रहा था. प्लस हम भी इतना डरे हुए थे, दैट फियर ऑफ फेलियर इतना उनमें वाजे तौर पे नजर आ रहा था कि वो अपनी शॉट ही नहीं खेल रहे थे. एंड देन इन द रन चेस दे वर वेरी प्रोफेशनल. वी डिडंट bowl well with the new ball. We have not bowled well with the new ball throughout the tournament. And Zadran और गुरबाज ने काउंटर अटैक किया. They were 120 odd for what, 125 for none या ऐसा कुछ था. कोई एक्सपीरियंस टीम होती, कोई वेल एस्टेब्लिश टीम होती, वो तो 38 या 40 ओवर्स में मैच जीते. ये तो अफगान्स के वो नर्व्स थे कि दे डिडंट नो हाउ टू बिग अ विन मैच ऑन अ रन चेस कि वो 49th ओवर तक ले गए थे, वरना द गेम वाज वेल एंड ट्रूली गॉन वे बिफोर दैट.
So let's come to the start. Babar won the toss. He batted first. I think a lot of people said that that was the right choice. So looking back on it would be, Monday morning quarterback. So let's skip that. So let's start with the 282. Neither Rashid nor Mujib took any wickets, which was a surprise. Were we too timid? And in that, or was it the score that we were sort of okay with? So obviously you have to take it in the context that we know what happened in the match, but I think most people would have been happy with the 282 coming out of the way we started. We were 56 after the first power play, 56 for nothing, I believe, or 50 for nothing. Sorry, I think Afghanistan was 56 for nothing. And again, the openers gave you a good partnership. Abdullah Shafiq played well. Take us through the batting. Was that a lost opportunity, or do you think we performed about expected? We'll start with easy.
सादी भाई, वही मसला हो रहा है ना कि जब आपका एक ओपनर या टॉप 3 बैटर वेल सेट हो जाए, इट्स वेरी वेरी क्रिमिनल टू देन गेट आउट इन द 50s और द 60s और द 70s. हमने बेंगलोर में भी यही किया, हमने अहमदाबाद में भी यही किया, और आज भी यही किया. अब्दुल्ला शफीक वाज बैटिंग ब्यूटीफुली, देन ऑफ कोर्स ही थ्रू हिज विकेट अवे. इमाम उल हक, well, he was looking all right at the crease, but that very poor pull shot caught at mid wicket. So that has been the major issue कि जब भी हम लॉन्च करते हैं या एक अपना वो जो प्लेटफॉर्म बनाना होता है एक बड़ी इनिंग्स का, और ओपनर गेट्स आउट and they have the maximum opportunity to get 100 to the name, 120 115 मारो, then that would make everything very clear. पाकिस्तान की run of success to that number 1 ODI ranking यही था. फखर सेट हो जाता था, बड़ा 100 मारता था. इमाम खड़ा हो जाता था तो वो एक अपना पेशेंट 100 मारता था. या बाबर अगर सेट हो गया, ऑफ कोर्स वो मैच वन साइडेड कर देता था. So we always had that top 3 stability that gave us that platform, and everything else emanated from that. इस वर्ल्ड कप में क्या हो रहा है, बार बार ये लोग सेट हो रहे हैं और बड़ा स्कोर नहीं लगा रहे, या 50 60 70s लगा रहे हैं. एंड दैट इज वेयर आई फील के द बैटिंग इज कमिंग अंडर प्रेशर. ऑफ कोर्स बाबर आजम उस तरीके से रन्स नहीं कर पा रहा. आई थॉट ही प्लेड a very good innings today. He should have gotten 100. If we look at the New Zealand Afghanistan match that took place at Chennai earlier, even the Kiwis with Tom Latham and Glenn Phillips, they were 110 for 4. Set होने के बाद भी उन्होंने एक slow, quote unquote slow partnership लगाई थी. They didn't really play that aggressively क्योंकि batting first in Chennai is difficult. We saw Bangladesh collapse to New Zealand earlier in Chennai as well. So it's not that easy to bat on the surface. सब लोग बातें बना रहे हैं, ये बाबर ने selfish खेला है, ये वो अच्छा नहीं खेला. But in fact, in reality, the first innings in Chennai when the ball gets soft is very difficult. We were a bit defensive. हमने अपने आप को express नहीं किया, but thankfully Chacha and Shadab covered that in the last 6 overs. 280 was enough of a score to win against Afghanistan. Yeah, we just bowled and fielded very, very poorly.
So let me throw it to Ali Asad, but also ask him to expand on something that you said, which is clearly the pitch became easier in the second innings. Was it a mistake then to bat first? Would you have done it differently, or you think he made the right decision and 280 was fine? Ali, take us through the batting.
I absolutely agree with the decision at the toss. Even after looking at how the pitch played in the second innings, I think sometimes you have to ignore the conditions a little bit and look at the opposition team. In this case, I think it's not even a question that a team like Afghanistan, whose biggest strength is choking the opposition with its spinners, you look at all their greatest ODI victories or the times they've even come close against us before, it's when they choke you in the second innings with their spin bowlers. You look at what they did to England as well. They put up a decent total against a really good England batting lineup, and they choked them with their spinners. So I was actually saying before this game, if we can win the toss and bat first, I know it sounds kind of stupid in hindsight, but I was saying that it should be, and it was silly of me to say, but I was saying that it should be a sure shot win. Win the toss, bat first. I said 260 plus. They made 280. I was really happy with it. I was especially happy with it after South got out, and you had that partnership between Shadab and Iftikhar, where Iftikhar hit their fast bowlers at the end. I was super happy with how, except they had a really good last over, but I thought the momentum was also on our side. And at one point, it wasn't looking like we were going to get more than 270, but we did. So I have to agree with AZ. What really disappointed me in this innings, the bowling, especially just like AZ said throughout the World Cup, the new ball bowling, really disappointing. The fielding, there was no massive chance that was dropped, but that ground fielding definitely cost us at least 25 runs, at least
Yeah, it was about
25. And that's
25
criminal
to
in a
30
game of
runs.
margins.
No, you're
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I thought. 20.
Pakistan
Yeah.
had been
And the
13.
third thing was
Go
the
ahead.
captaincy.
Yeah, I'll come to the
Yeah.
captaincy. Pakistan had been 13-0 when defending 275 in a World Cup. So let's come to the captaincy.
Mhm.
Obviously, you can only use the resources that you have. We know the limitations of the bowlers, whether it's the new lack of new bowling, Hassan Ali, Shaheen clearly not on form, the spinners. But did Barber marshal his use of the bowlers effectively? Because, to me, I think the game was lost at when Afghanistan got to 130 without loss. I think he should have figured out at some point that, look, these two batters are set. I need to break this partnership. And I don't think he was proactive enough. Clearly, the fielding didn't help. Too many slip shot effort, but it just seemed like we couldn't stitch together 2 overs in a row of continued pressure. Hassan Ali bowled a maiden, and then immediately after, Shadab came on, and of course leaked runs. Take me through Babur's captaincy in the second innings. And to me, I think he should get a lot of criticism with how he handled the captaincy, but he's also working with not the best tools. How is that balance in your eyes?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Ali, and then AZ.
I think it's important to acknowledge, and it's only fair to Babar to say that his bowlers have not stepped up in this tournament and they aren't amongst the highest quality bowling attacks. I think that disclaimer is important because a lot of people I've noticed have a tendency to take out the frustration of the lack in quality of the bowling on Babar's captaincy. I don't think that's really fair on him. But with that being said, I think there were two really major mistakes he made in today's game with regards to his bowling changes. The first one was I felt like he brought on the spinners way too late. If you looked at how the first innings played out, that set a template for you. Their pace bowlers were not
Effective.
threatening at all at the start. Ours were not threatening at all at the start. I think you had to at least bring on 1 over of Iftikhar just to see how it plays out, just to see how it plays in. Worst case, they hit you for a few boundaries, whatever. Like they're still cruising, right? Like you can take that risk. The second thing, and this is much more criminal, I felt. When that 1 over of Hassan, that I think it was
Reverse.
a maiden over,
Yep.
when we first saw the signs of reverse and he was tailing it in and he was
Yep.
bowling really, really well. I know you could say that the game is almost lost at that point, but the job of a captain is to maximize the resources he has
Yep.
according to the conditions. When you see that ball reverse and you know that both of your leg spinners are not bowling well, it truly baffles me. Like I don't I'll think about it. Maybe he had some thought process behind it that I can't figure out. I hope they ask him that. I don't know if they did. They probably won't because their questions are pretty dumb. But when you see that ball reverse, what makes you go to your leg spinner after that? You know you cannot win this game in the 50th over. You know the only way you win this game is if you cause a collapse and you get their wickets, and then at the end, whatever happens, happens. So after Hassan bowls that over, why do you not just bring on the pacers and attack like wolves, like the Pakistan team is known to do? You just see that reverse, you bring on the leg spinner, he gives 10 runs, and you leak any of the pressure there. And after that, it's done and dusted. So that just baffles the mind.
Izzy, your thoughts on captaincy during the second innings?
Sadi bhai, there was a stat that was flashed during the second innings today that Pakistan averaging bowling averages of Pakistan in the World Cup. The fast bowlers averaged 29 at that stage of the game, and the spinners were averaging 71. तो ये वो स्टैट है जब उसामा मीर और शदाब ने वो जो 40 ओवर्स के बाद स्पेल नहीं डाला था तो जाहिर है द एवरेज ओनली वेंट अप बिकॉज दे गॉट हैमर्ड तो अब फिर बंदा अब ठीक है एक कैप्टन को लाइन डिसीजंस लेनी पड़ती हैं बट व्हेन यू जूम आउट लुक एट इट एट अ मैक्रो लेवल तो वो बंदा करे तो क्या करे हारिस रऊफ इज गेटिंग हैमर्ड ठीक है शाहीन इज नॉट एट हिज बेस्ट बट चलो ही इज नॉट गेटिंग कार्टेड ऑल ओवर द प्लेस इन द पावर प्ले 4 overs none for 24 या none for 20 इस किस्म का स्पेल शाहीन भी आपको न्यू बॉल के साथ दे रहा है हसन अली हैज बीन प्रीटी डिसेंट ओवरऑल थोड़े से चौके ज्यादा खाता है बट देन ही ब्लोज अ हाई परसेंटेज ऑफ डॉट बॉल्स एज वेल Shadab Khan has been useless. Osama Mir has been useless. Haris Rauf has been almost unplayable level पे अब उसकी bowling चली गई कि वो 3 overs none for 30 none for 40 उसके बाद the opposition batting goes so far ahead of the game that you're always just trying to claw your way back तो जब आपके bowlers इतने out of form है हम कहते हैं कि यार उस वक्त इसको लगा दो उसको इस वक्त लगा दो a captain has to build a strategy that works for 300 balls 50 ओवर वो इमोशनल डिसीजन उस वक्त नहीं ले सकते मे बी यू कैन से दे कैन वर्क और मे बी ही नीड्स टू एक्ट ऑन हिज इंस्टिंक्ट बट प्रैक्टिकली आप ऐसे एक 50 ओवर इनिंग्स कंस्ट्रक्ट नहीं कर सकते जो जिनके उनके रोल है उनको डिलीवर करना पड़ता है शदाब खान ही इज बीन अ वेटरन फॉर 7 years नाउ विद आवर ओडीआई साइड ही इज हैड एन अनडिस्प्यूटेड स्पॉट अब वर्ल्ड कप पे जाके ही इज फॉलन अपार्ट उसामा मीर ठीक है थोड़ा सा कच्चा है थोड़ा सा इनएक्सपीरियंस्ड है बट ही नीड्स टू बॉल अ लॉट बेटर लास्ट ईयर हमने देखा था यार क्या शानदार बॉलिंग वो करा रहा था ही वाज गेटिंग क्लिक केन विलियमसन आउट क्लीन बोल्ड बार बार ही वाज लाइक ही फोर्स्ड हिज वे इनटू द वर्ल्ड कप 15 even though we didn't really need a backup leggy but he was bowling so well that we couldn't keep him out and मोहम्मद नवाज आपके सामने अगर हम सजावल को इस वक्त इस जूम कॉल पे ले लेंगे तो वो उसके सारे स्टैट्स बता देगा ही इज एवरेजिंग 999 और ये वो so the deterioration ऑफ आवर बॉलिंग आई थिंक बाबर भी थोड़ा सा बेबस हो गया कि यार मैं करूं तो मैं क्या करूं ऊपर से आपके ओपनर्स आपको रेगुलर बड़े स्कोर नहीं दे रहे इफ यू वांट टू डू वेल इन द राउंड रॉबिन स्टेज ऑफ अ वर्ल्ड कप योर टॉप 3 हैव टू स्टैट पैड लाइक हैक आपने देखा रोहित शर्मा क्या कर रहा है विराट कोहली क्या कर रहा है क्विंटन डिकॉक क्या कर रहा है डेवन कॉनवे क्या कर रहा है सो यू नीड दीज गाइज टू गेट दोस बिग स्कोर्स एंड सेट अप द इंटायर गेम एंड दैट्स व्हाट पाकिस्तान हैव नॉट बीन गेटिंग द फील्डिंग हैज बीन बिलो पार लेकिन आपको पता है पाकिस्तान की फील्डिंग हैज ऑलवेज बीन अप एंड डाउन ऑन द डे इधर देयर रियली रियली शार्प or their abject poverty as we saw today in Chennai. So I think थोड़ा सा
And against
बाबर खुद
Australia
भी
too.
and against Australia और बाबर खुद भी बेबस हो गया on top of this cake of shit his own form has declined a bit आज बहुत अच्छी इनिंग्स उसने खेली थी बट वही है कि बाबर के बल्ले से स्कोर नहीं आ रहा so he's feeling the heat of that as well so multiple things have piled up at the wrong stage and that is the World Cup stage for us right now.
I was struck by, if you look back at previous Pakistan-Afghanistan games, I was struck by how Afghanistan always lets the pressure get to them. But in this game, there was a calmness to their chase. They were never pressurized. They were never put under pressure. And yes, I think you're asking Babar as a captain to not deal with the best resources, but I still think he should have figured out a way to exert some scoreboard pressure because 282 on this surface, that's a lot of runs to play with. And he should have read it's again comes back to game awareness, match nows. Should have read the way this was going. If you look at the on Cricket for you have the win percentage for each team. Afghanistan was never under 50% at any point, and it tells you that we just never exerted enough pressure. Let's come to Babar as a captaincy. To me, and Izzy and I were talking offline about this before you joined us, Ali. I said, this team that's been together now for 3 years, this team to me peaked at that 2022 Asia Cup Super Fours after they beat India. And I think they missed opportunities. Certainly they missed a opportunity 2021. They missed the opportunity that 2022 Asia Cup. But after that, if you look at the 2022 World Cup, and I know it's mixing formats, but they weren't that great in the stages, group stages. They lost to Zimbabwe. Yes, then they beat New Zealand, but then they had an abject performance in the final. And since then, it's just been a steady decline. Is it time to basically scrap everything and start again, which includes the captain? Because I have this theory in sports, and I've told you guys this, that I think after a certain amount of time, you need new voices. Is it time for new voices and host this World Cup? Because I don't think you could say let's wait for this World Cup to end, but I don't think this team is making the semifinals. I think we're getting grouped. So is today the sign, especially with the crack in the unity that we saw, that his time as captain has come to an end, and it's time to turn over a new page? Or is that too harsh?
Sadi bhai, I don't think that's too harsh. But I will say one thing. I think this entire leadership group, I think that includes Babar, Rizwan, Shadab, Shaheen.
Shaheen.
I don't know how much, and this is genuinely like, I don't know, like, I don't know how much of a difference it'll make if we start playing captaincy musical chairs with these guys. Like, if you give Rizwan the captaincy and he does something like from, like, I think he contributes already, or if you give Shadab the captaincy, I'm all for changing the captaincy. I think Babar has had 4 years. That's enough time. And all the trophies that we've missed out on and all of that. And yes, like it's maybe a bit harsh to blame him for all of these losses, but if anything, changing the captain wouldn't hurt. Like it wouldn't,
Right.
it can't go any lower than this. Like you're getting grouped in this World Cup. Now you have 2 years for the 2025 Champions Trophy. You have no nothing. I don't think you even have any ODIs for the next whole year. So I think it's time for all of these guys and all the higher ups and all of these guys to sit down and say, okay, look, we got grouped this World Cup. We were terrible this World Cup. What do we have to do? We have to plan for this one Champions Trophy, which is at home. What kind of squad do we need for that? What are the players who we need to identify? Who do we think is a good leader here? Who do we think is a good coach here? If you want to change the coach, like I'm all for it. I don't really think Mickey Arthur and like this is my opinion. I don't think he's a very good coach, and I don't think he's that serious about Pakistan cricket either, considering that this is like his second job and he's only with us for the World Cup. So yes, I agree with you. Just for that refreshing element, just for like that turning a new leaf element, I think it's important that things have gotten a bit stale. So you do change the captaincy, you do change the leadership group maybe as well a bit. You change the team culture top down as best as you can. But at the same time, like, and I don't want to sound too cynical, I think that you can still, you have stuff to work with, but I don't really see just changing the captain making a big enough difference that you need in this team. I think there's more that needs to be done. I think there needs to be like some kind of external element. I think that, I don't know if that's a coach or if that's someone in the PCB or someone, but someone needs to like step in from the outside and see what is wrong with this team, what is causing them to like really analyze this team deeply, maybe ask some of the players individually, like, what do you think is wrong with this team? What do you think you can do better? Like, why do you think we've messed up where we have over these last few years? And really make some wholesale changes, not this superficial BS. You remove the captain, the everything else stays the same. You really make some changes to the team culture. Otherwise, if it stays like this, I don't see anything happening. Yeah, you bring Saim Ayub, but it's the same team culture that he's going to be a part of, right? So like, you bring in one player, you bring in another player, like that's really not changing the team. So it's like, it's something deeper than just the personnel. I
No,
really believe that at this
it's a
point. I
great
really
point.
believe that.
It's a great point. I do think you need an external SWOT analysis of strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, because you still have talent. You still have Barber, you still have Shaheen, you still have Haris, you have Saim, you have Haris Rauf I'm talking about, but then you have the other Haris. So you have talent there. You have enough of a core. The team needs refreshing, but more importantly, it needs a cultural change. And who is going to be the captain that can lead that cultural change? Who is the coach that can lead that cultural change? Because something has to change. Um, they
I
just
know one thing
seemed.
that definitely has to change. You need to remove Shadab as vice captain. His place in the team is
But
not
I
certain
think
anymore. So
his
like that
place in the
friggin' has
team,
to
How
go.
the how the
not just as vice
turntables.
captain, but just even as a player, I
Team
think
interest.
even as a player, his position is under threat.
Pakistan first.
Uh,
Yep, always.
uh, AC, what do you think about this? Has Babar's time as captain come to an end?
सादी भाई वही बात है जो अली असद की, ये जो फोर हॉर्समैन हमारे बने हुए हैं टीम के, रिजवान, शदाब, बाबर और शाहीन. सो ऑन सरफेस, ऑन पेपर, इन फ्रंट ऑफ द मीडिया, एंड इन टर्म्स ऑफ सोशल मीडिया, ये जो हमारी इंटरेक्शंस होती हैं प्लेयर के साथ, दे सीम टू बी pretty chill with each other. They seem to be backing each other. So I don't really think changing the captain is anything but cosmetic. He's absolutely spot on about the Mickey Arthur era. वो तो भाई फुली तरह पैक है, बिल्कुल ही, लाइक ही मेंशन, इट्स हिज सेकंड जॉब. आप लोगों ने अगर द ऑफिस देखा है तो उसके
Yep,
लेटर सीजन में जेम्स स्पेडर आता था उस
yep.
शो में. दे ट्राई टू रिप्लेस बेसिकली
Mm-hmm.
माइकल या जो भी इसका नाम था. सो जेम्स स्पेडर इस वक्त वो बना हुआ है मिकी आर्थर. और प्लस आपको पता है जो एनएफएल और जो अमेरिकन स्पोर्ट्स में जब एक न्यू ओनर, हम कह सकते हैं न्यू चेयरमैन आया, वो अपने बंदे लगाता है. तो मिकी आर्थर वाज अ सेठी पिक. And well, the elections will determine what's going to happen in the PCB as well. That's another Pandora's box that we don't quite want to open right now. But Zaka Ashraf has the perfect opportunity right now to sack Mickey Arthur and all his ये जो टब्बर लाया ये साउथ अफ्रीकन का, इन सबको तो निकालो, बिकॉज दे हैव ग्लोरियसली फेल्ड एट द एशिया कप. हम तो यार टॉप फोर में, सुपर फोर में हम लास्ट आए हैं, और अब वर्ल्ड कप आपके सामने है. इट्स बीन अ डिजास्टर क्लास ऑफ
And it's
epic
not like he's
proportions. We're gonna get
successful
grouped.
in the UK either. It's not like he's successful
Right.
there. वहां पे भी टीम क्या कर रही है उसकी?
Some of it is just vibes from 2017, but you bring up the coaching staff. I don't see how Morne Morkel has improved the bowling since the Asia Cup.
They look absolutely awful. और ये है कि जो हम
They
ये
look
ओवरसीज
lost.
प्रो, दे लोग कंप्लीटली लॉस्ट. और चलो हमारे लड़के तो कभी इंडिया में खेले नहीं, तुम तेरे तो सालों साल आईपीएल खेला है, तुमने सालों साल साउथ अफ्रीका के साथ टूर किया. तुम तो हमें समझाओ कि भाई इन पिचों पे कैसी बॉलिंग करनी, बिकॉज दे लोग कंप्लीटली क्लूलेस. वो 3-4 ओवर वो बॉल आगे डालते हैं, मार पड़ती है, एंड वी आर बैक ऑन दोज गुड लेंथ एरियाज, डिफेंसिव लाइंस, नॉट ट्राइंग टू स्विंग, नॉट ट्राइंग टू डू एनीथिंग. एंड दैट्स बीन अ मेजर डिसएडवांटेज फॉर आवर टीम एज वेल. जैसे आपने फील्डिंग की बात की, उनको ग्राउंड की डिमेंशंस और ग्राउंड का बिहेवियर ही नहीं पता. वो इजी दुक्के बन रहे हैं, आराम से वो स्ट्राइक रोटेट करें. So these small things are very, very important that the coaching staff has not imparted on them. As for the change in captain, yeah, it's a good question. It's a good, dilemma, because
Let me ask you a different question then. Do
जी.
you think changing the captain could unlock Babar to fulfill his potential as a batter? Or do you think they're
Well,
not tied? Like
as a captain, he averaged what, 70 odd with the bat in ODI. So I think he can compartmentalize fairly well कि मैंने अपनी performance कैसे करनी है. लेकिन captaincy, like we cannot deny that he hasn't been the most inspiring leader. But I keep thinking कि यार ये quadrant बना हुआ है, अगर हम किसी को आगे पीछे कर भी दें, it's all the same. तो if Babar is the front man of the band, so to speak, it doesn't really make a difference अगर think tank वही 3-4 लड़के हैं. Plus बाबर का जो एक brand है यार, I think it's a bit too powerful for us to कि उसको हटा दो, unless he resigns himself, that would be something else. But I don't think कि PCB में इतने guts हैं, और general public भी शायद ये कबूल करने को तैयार नहीं है, seeing Babar not as captain.
So just to clarify, you're saying they won't remove him. You don't think they should remove him.
I don't think they have the cojones, as they say in Spanish, to remove him. I don't think so, no.
All right, so
बस he's in his prime यार. अब अगर वो 34 होता तो ठीक है, वो 28 है यार. अब आप किस बेसिस पे उसको हटाओगे? फिर लोग वो जो है ना बाबरियंस जिसके साथ अली असद बहुत लड़ते हैं सोशल मीडिया पे, वो तो आपको पता है वो जो एक फ्यूरर क्रिएट होगी. वी नो द पीसीबी गेट्स affected by the reporters' opinions and the social media wave. तो वो जो एक wave आएगा ना in popular support of Babar, I think it'll be a bit too
I think
overwhelming for
some
the
of it
PCB to
depends on
handle.
how they go from here with the 4 games left. The last time Pakistan lost 3 games in a row in a World Cup was in 1999, which of course we know they still ended up in the final.
एक तो ये 1992 में, 1999 में, 2017 में,
Just
we love
passing
these
along the stats. However,
Malcolm Gladwell वाले numbers.
having said that, do you guys think there's any chance they run the table from here? I don't. I just don't
अली
see this
असद बोलो.
bowling. I just don't see this bowling being consistent enough. I don't see this batting giving you enough of a start. Um, I just don't see them winning four on a trot. Alias,
Sadi bhai, if I'm being realistic, I think this is also the moment that I've broken, and I think there's a difference between being hopeful and being delusional. Because, like, let's say you beat this red hot South African, you have to win all four of your next games. Who's to say you're? I know we play really well against Bangladesh, but they destroyed Afghanistan. We weren't expecting to lose to
it's the
Afghanistan
manner
after
of the
making
defeat.
280.
It's the
Who's
way they
exactly? It's
capitulated
not
today.
exactly. It's not. You know what's really disheartening? If our team was collapsing and losing because of our batting, you could say, okay, like we're still in this, like the 2022 World T20. But watching a Pakistan bowling lineup just bowl like this
Yep.
with no, utterly uninspiring, utterly utter lack of penetration, just completely toothless. I think toothless is a good word. How can you expect a bowling lineup to and it would be different if it was just one bowler, like you could say, okay, Shadab's bowling full tosses, but the Pacers are they look lethal and they're doing well, so like we can just replace him. It's every single one. No one looks penetrative. So how can you expect a 5-man turnaround before the next game or the next 4 games that you have to win on the trot? You're not. I used to think that this was a cliche, but the term that batters win you matches and bowling wins you tournaments, I think that is absolutely spot on. I think it does have some element of truth to it. And with a bowling lineup like this, which is probably not even top 6 in this whole World Cup, I don't think we have a chance. Like, obviously, mathematically, realistically, you can win all 4. You can come fourth in the group. Australia के साथ ये हो सकता है, बांग्लादेश उससे हरा सकती है, अफगानिस्तान उससे हरा सकती है. Anything can happen. लेकिन रियलिस्टिकली जिस तरह ये टीम खेल रही है, मुझे नहीं नजर आ रहा ये
It's all
होते हुए.
three phases as well. It's not just the bowling; it's the slip shot fielding, and it's also the batting, which continues to basically confound. I know they put up 282 today, but even then, none of the players went on to a big score. Barbara again got out in a soft manner. Yes, he played a very good innings till then, but it was still the way he got out.
Excellent innings.
Sal Shakil again disappointed. So it's all of the combine it all together. I just don't see
It's
them
all
winning.
setting up beautifully for us to run the table, Sadi
AZ,
bhai.
your
थोड़ा
vote
बिलीफ तो रखो यार,
four
कुछ
for
भी हो
four.
सकता है यार.
नहीं, मैचेस
You
तो
never know
देखेंगे, अब
यार.
मैचेस तो देखेंगे, ये
I
तो
mean,
नहीं कि
अब
टीवी बंद
मसला
कर
ये कि
देंगे.
हमारा
well,
आखिरी
that's why
मैच
we
इंग्लैंड
watch,
के
right?
साथ है.
Correct.
मसला ये कि इंग्लैंड है एट द एंड, तो ये बड़ा यार एक बनाना स्किन है कि मतलब डू और डाई, वो जैसे कहते हैं ना पाकिस्तान में डू एंड डाई मैच है. तो ये सारे डू
लेकिन
एंड डाई
एजी,
आ गए
मुझे तो
हमारे.
लग नहीं रहा कि लेके इंग्लैंड वाले मैच तक बात भी रहेगी. मुझे तो
It's
ऐसा लग भी
funny.
नहीं
We
रहा
यार
कि
were
कम
हम
ऑन यार.
we were talking about the
वो है
England
ना मीम, सम
match.
टाइम इज ओके, थोड़ा रखो यार, हो
We were
सकता है
talking
यार,
about
कम
the
ऑन.
England match potentially being a dead rubber because of them. Turns out it may be a dead rubber because of us if we lose to South Africa
वो
and then
दोनों दोनों ही
even
डेड इन
worse.
द
दोनों
वाटर
की
में इस
डेड,
वक्त.
एग्जैक्टली, बोथ ऑफ देम आर डेड. या या
Last thoughts, final thoughts before we put a bow on this today.
I just, one
Any
thing I
any
wanted to say,
positives?
I don't know about positives, but we talked about like the external SWOT analysis. So I wanted to bring that up. आई थिंक पाकिस्तान में तो ये हर वक्त हो रहा होता है ना कि ये कमेटी बना ली, ये देख लेंगे कि ये क्या कर रहा है, कमेटी की परफॉर्मेंस जज करने के लिए एक और कमेटी बना ली, ये तो बनती रहती हैं. तो आई डोंट रियली मीन दैट व्हेन आई से एक्सटर्नल स्वॉट एनालिसिस, बिकॉज दैट डजंट वर्क इन पाकिस्तान. आई थिंक सबसे पहले तो, लाइक यू नो, आई डोंट रियली रेट हिम एज अ कोच. मिकी आर्थर की ये रिपोर्ट सीरियसली लें, देखें कि क्या गलत है क्या सही है. आई थिंक द ओनली वे टू फिक्स दिस टीम राइट नाउ, आई सी लाइक you bring in, I'm not even saying you have to bring in a world class coach or anything, but you need some competent management who can sort of overlook this team and see inke faults kya hai, and is like sort of tactically sound. Because like AZ said, like I said, you keep playing musical chairs with the leadership group, nothing is really going to change. So that's the only way I see this changing. And I don't know how or who that coaching staff is going to be, but like I don't see any other solution because the PCB I feel is too incompetent an organization to do an accurate or a productive SWOT analysis on its own. I don't think it's going to do that. I think the only thing that's saving this team, if anything, is going to be someone like truly external who comes and works with it.
AZ, final thoughts?
Bhai, the solution is right there in front of you, Ali Asad, who is the most successful combo in Pakistan cricket right now. Akib Javed and Shaheen Shafridi. Just go all in, go full Kalandar, man. You never know. We could make it happen. हो सकता है यार. Why not?
तो आप कह
But
रहे हैं
on a
कि
serious note,
या
हाँ बोलो बोलो बोलो.
मैं कह
नहीं
रहा हूँ
बोलो.
कि अगर आ जाए वो आकिब आ जाए तो मे बी रऊफ isn't going to give 24 or 17 in his first over, शायद 10-12 दे दे.
I cannot guarantee that, but कुछ तो कर लेगा यार. But on a serious note, yes, we need a big shake-up in terms of our coaching. I think अब वही डिबेट वापस शुरू हो जाएगा भाई, अपने कोच होने चाहिए, फॉरेनर्स होने चाहिए. वो तो यार दिस नेवर एंडिंग डिबेट. जो भी हमें रिजल्ट दिलवा दे, चाहे आकिब जावेद हो या कोई और हो या जावेद अख्तर हो या जो भी हो, whoever can get us back on track, यार बस दुआ करो कि लेट्स होप देयर इज अ मिनिस्क्यूल होप के. एक्चुअली मिनिस्क्यूल होप भी नहीं, रन द टेबल के अलावा अगर हम 5-4 भी कर लें, शायद कोई नेट रन रेट पे जादू हो जाए या कुछ हो जाए,
नहीं
या
यार.
कोई वॉश आउट्स हो जाए. ऐसे कोई जुगाड़, कोई तुक्का, कोई स्कीम, यू नेवर नो यार. लेट्स होप फॉर द बेस्ट. एंड और अगर ये वर्ल्ड कप डिजास्टर हो भी क्या, वी वोंट हैव टाइम टू थिंक अबाउट इट, क्योंकि फिर टी20 वर्ल्ड कप की रैट रेस शुरू हो
I was
जाएगी.
going
सो
to say
वी
that
जस्ट डोंट हैव टाइम टू थिंक
we
अबाउट
will
इट.
still go into the T20 World Cup next summer as one of the top 3 or 4 favorites because there's enough talent.
Absolutely.
There's enough talent
Absolutely.
there. But again, it goes to we can't, when you have a group of players like this, you can't just keep throwing away these opportunities to win an ICC trophy. So I do hope that they collectively come to some sort of consensus as what is the best way for us to win this T20 uh, championship in the summer of 24. So thank you as always. We'll keep watching. That's why we love sports. Anything can happen. And we'll see you guys, I think Friday, right? South Africa.
We'll be here.